It started, like all properly ridiculous New York dreams do, on the L train at 2 a.m. Todd full name, Toddrinthius Maximus Rex, but he found that made people unnecessarily tense, was wedged into the end car, his green snout pressed against an advertisement promising longer arms in 30 days, guaranteed. For a Tyrannosaurus Rex who measured 40 feet from nose to tail, but barely 2 from shoulder to claw tip, the irony stung. Todd had recently binged an online documentary about third wave coffee culture and had become utterly, irreversibly obsessed. If humans could form entire identities around tasting notes of blueberry and bergamot, surely a detail-oriented dinosaur could do the same. But when the train screeched into First Avenue, Todd ducked, shuffled, and wriggled onto the platform with a single burning ambition: open the smallest, swankiest coffee shop in Manhattan and show the world that he too had a refined palate, even if his arms were hilariously ill-suited to the task. Finding real estate that allowed prehistoric carnivores on the lease was more complicated than Todd expected. Brokers tended to scream. Co-ops cited bylaws against pets exceeding 200 pounds. Finally, a sub-basement storefront in the East Village became available after the previous tenant, a Knish-themed tattoo parlor, discovered that no one wanted a portrait of Grandma Ida inked on their shoulder. The space was 8 feet wide and 12 feet deep, perfectly cozy in broker speak, but positively microscopic compared to Todd's Jurassic proportions. He loved it instantly. A tiny shop would prove he could finesse the delicate art of espresso in spite of his bulk, and besides, the rent demanded only 3 kidneys worth of savings. Dinosaurs, as luck would have it, regrow kidneys every lunar cycle. Todd signed the lease with a claw dipped in oat milk foam, a flourish that impressed no one but himself. He christened the cafe Tiny Arms Espresso, leaned into the joke, and commissioned a neon sign of a cartoon T-Rex hugging a latte, but obviously missing the cup. The build-out phase was blissful. Todd watched contractors install reclaimed wood counters, Edison bulbs, and a vintage La Marzocco machine so shiny it reflected every serrated tooth in his grin. He ordered burlap sacks of single Oriana beans from Guatemala and Ethiopia and kept them piled like fragrant sandbags in the corner. Passers-by pressed their noses to the window, whispering, "Is that a dinosaur?" To which Todd would wave enthusiastically, knocking over a stool every time. Publicity problem solved. Free marketing via scale and whimsy. Training was another matter. YouTube featured plenty of tutorials on dialing in grind size, tamping, and puck prep, but none were hosted by creatures whose arms resembled defective chicken wings. The first morning he rehearsed a shot, Todd discovered he couldn't reach the portafilter once the machine was bolted to its standard hammock counter. He hopped, he tilted, he even attempted to use his tail as a lever, but physics is cruel and counters are unforgiving. Eventually, he fetched a pair of stainless steel salad tongs, clenched them between his minuscule claws, and managed to lock the portafilter into place. The tongs bent. The group head erupted with scalding water. Todd yelped and slammed his muzzle into the steam wand, showering the whole bar in frothy chaos. "Excellent crema, though," he muttered, licking the wall. Opening day arrived on a crisp October morning, and a line snaked down Avenue A before sunrise. Hipsters in beanies, exhausted dog walkers, and curiosity seekers brandished phones, ready to immortalize either artisanal triumph or catastrophic dinosaur meltdown. Todd adjusted his jaunty barista apron-sized XXXXXXXL, custom ordered, and roared a gentle "good morning" that shattered 3 car alarms and a bicycle chain. He crouched behind the bar, claws trembling with equal parts excitement and fear. "Grind coffee, dose, tamp, lock, brew. Easy, right?" Customer number 1, a woman with a Brooklyn Book Festival tote, ordered a single cappuccino with almond milk. Todd ground the beans, but the grinder chute sat level with his snout, causing an involuntary sneeze that sent coffee grinds across the room like volcanic ash. He tried tamping with a tamper duct-taped to a selfie stick. The contraption slipped, flipped, and smacked him in the eye. The crowd oohed. Todd forced a smile, tears evaporating in steam. He finally extracted a shot over extracted, bitter, notes of charcoal and existential dread, and poured milk with the grace of a forklift. The cappuccino looked like a swampy puddle, yet the woman sipped, raised an appreciative eyebrow, and pronounced it intensely primal. She posted a 5-star review praising the cafe's authentic, Cretaceous ambiance. By noon, Tiny Arms Espresso was trending. Influencers compared the mouthfeel of Todd's Americanos to the thrilling terror of a roller coaster constructed entirely of fossils. Still, the workflow threatened to implode. Every drink required an improvised gadget: salad tongs for portafilters, a gaffer-taped whisk to purge the steam wand, and a bicycle horn to summon Todd's one human employee, Otto, whenever a cup needed latte art beyond the scope of a dinosaur's fine motor skills. Otto, a film student from Queens with an uncut he described as emotionally vulnerable, had answered Todd's classified ad. Help wanted, must tolerate mild roaring. Otto excelled at heart rosettes and existential sighs. Together they formed an eccentric but affectionate rhythm until the espresso machine staged a mutiny. Mid-afternoon, Todd attempted back-to-back triple shots for a gaggle of tech bros debating cryptocurrency. The La Marzocco groaned ominously, then emitted a puff of steam that curled into the shape of a question mark. Something clunked. The brew pressure gauge spun like a carnival wheel. Todd's arms were too short to reach the emergency shutoff. He panicked, whipped his tail, and accidentally obliterated the pastry case, sending croissants airborne like buttery meteors. Otto dove forward, cut the power, and the machine sighed into silence. The crypto bros clapped, assuming it was performance art. Dinosaurs are so retro, bro, one noted, tipping Todd in Dogecoin. Repairs required a specialist. Enter Beatrice B. O'Malley, espresso technician extraordinaire, rumored to recalibrate group heads with nothing but a wrench and a swear word. B marched into the cafe the next morning, spotted Todd, and said, "Well, you're a tall order, aren't you?" She inspected the machine, then Todd's arms, then the salad tongs. "Your tools are adorable," she declared, "but you need proper extensions." Bay produced a pair of custom-built portafilter grip extenders, essentially chrome-plated chopsticks with silicone claws, slipped them over Todd's nubby arms, and invited him to try again. They fit like destiny. Todd locked the portafilter with newfound confidence, pulled an immaculate shot, and did not scald anything except perhaps the ego of every barista within a 5-block radius. He was in love, partly with the extenders, partly with B, who smelled faintly of brake fluid and cinnamon toast. Days passed in a whirl of steam and laughter. Regulars developed nicknames: Plaid Jukebox Guy, who always requested 90s alt-rock; Roller Derby Twins, who ordered quad-shot mochas before practice; Agatha, the retired spy, who communicated solely through crosswords left on the counter as cryptic drink orders. Todd learned to multi-tester, one extender tamping, the other texting bean suppliers, tail-flicking lights on, dolls reducing ice blocks into artisanal cubits. He even mastered rudimentary latte art by swirling the cup with gentle tail motions, a technique Otto dubbed Jurassic Pour. However, New York City is a crucible. Every success invites scrutiny. The Department of Health dispatched Inspector Milliman, a man whose upper lip looked like it had never once considered smiling. He arrived unannounced, clipboard in hand, eyes darting for violations. Todd offered a complimentary cortado. Milliman stared at it, cool as granite. "Regulations," he intoned, "state that all food service professionals must wear gloves." He indicated Todd's green, scaly fingers, gloveless, because no manufacturer produced nitrile gloves in prehistoric petite. Milliman also measured counter height, inspected the shattered pastry case now taped together, and clocked the tail flicks dangerously close to uncovered bins of chai powder. He left behind a bright yellow citation: Infraction 17B, excessive dinosaur interference. The citation ignited a social media firestorm. Hashtags, Let Todd Serve, and Tiny Arms Big Heart soared. Protesters gathered, sipping cortados while brandishing plush dinosaur toys. One night, Todd peeked outside and saw, projected on a neighboring brick wall, his own silhouette pouring coffee, accompanied by the caption, Jurassic Perks. He felt 10 stories tall, despite his petite appendages, yet anxiety churned. Another failed inspection could shutter the shop. He needed a plan. Cue the brainstorming session. Todd, Otto, B, and Agatha, the retired spy, convened after closing. Otto suggested robot arms. B proposed lowering the counters. Agatha slid across the crossword. G underscore B underscore 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 underscore. After 15 minutes, they solved it. Gloves, Bia smacked her forehead. That's it. We fabricate gloves. She sketched elongated, food-safe silicone sleeves that could slide over Todd's extenders, complete with textured fingertips for grip. Otto volunteered the 3D printer from his short film about sentient desk lamps. They worked through the night. Todd provided espresso fuel. Agatha sharpened pencils with stealthy knife flicks. B soldered, Otto coded designs, and by dawn they had the prototype. Flamingo pink gloves, 3 feet long, emblazoned with the cafe logo. Milliman returned precisely at 9 a.m. Todd greeted him wearing gloves so flamboyant they flopped like carnival streamers. Milliman adjusted his glasses. Gloves, he acknowledged, ticking his clipboard. Todd demonstrated a textbook tamp, shot pole, and milk foam swirl without a single hygiene infraction. Milliman sniffed, scribbled, and at last produced a pale green placard. Grade A. The cafe erupted in cheers. Otto blasted a playlist of triumphant movie soundtracks. Todd accidentally hugged Milliman, who, to everyone's astonishment, emitted a giggle. With bureaucratic dragons slain, Tiny Arms Espresso entered its golden era. Local media ran stories, caffeine with Cretaceous charm, tourists queued before dawn. Todd expanded the menu, the Velocity Matcha Latte, the Stego Cold Brew, and the fan favorite Macho Soar, served with a marshmallow shaped like a fossilized leaf. Revenue soared. Todd hired more staff. Roller Derby twins moonlighted as pastry bakers, and Agatha became chief cryptic communications officer, inventing drink specials via crosswords. Success, however, breeds rivalry. 2 blocks away, a sleek new cafe called Primate Pour-Over opened, owned by Sloan Fairchild, a barista champion whose man bun had its own Instagram. Sloan dismissed Todd as a mere novelty act. Gimmicks fade, he sniffed in an interview. Technique endures. He challenged Todd to a latte art showdown during New York Coffee Week, winner earning bragging rights and a feature in Caffeine Quarterly. Todd gulped. His hearts, he liked to think he had at least 2, thudded. His latte art was passable, but Sloan carved swans so lifelike they considered migrating. Training montage time. B rigged a practice station in the basement. Low counters, soft serve dispensers filled with dyed milk, and a whiteboard labeled Operation Dino Foam. Todd spent nights perfecting leaf patterns, hearts, tulips, and eventually dinosaurs made out of microfoam. Otto recorded slow-motion footage set to power ballads. Agatha coached with cryptic pep talks. Cross 6 letters. Grit. Todd sweated, splattered, and occasionally swallowed a gallon of milk by accident, but progress happened. He could swirl a leaf while reciting the periodic table. Coffee Week arrived, bringing baristas, journalists, plus an inexplicable number of people wearing berets. The showdown took place on the main stage at the Javits Center. Sloan glided in wearing suspenders and an air of condescension. Todd lumbered on stage to a chorus of cheers and the distant sound of someone humming the Jurassic Park theme. Each competitor had 7 minutes to produce 2 drinks, 1 classic, 1 freestyle. The classic round began. Sloan poured a textbook Rosetta, precise and clinical. Todd approached the machine, gloved extenders steady. He pulled the shot, textured milk, poured, and leaf? Symmetrical, silky, perfect. The crowd gasped. A leaf may seem humble, but executed by a dinosaur, it felt like poetry. Freestyle round. Sloan crafted an intricate phoenix that shimmered with edible glitter. Judges applauded. Todd inhaled deeply, thought of his journey, the L train, the salad tongs, the shattered pastry case. He envisioned resilience. He poured, wiggled, and with a final flick of the tail, etched a design so audacious the hall fell silent. In the cup sat a tiny T-Rex holding, with tragically short arms, a steaming mug of coffee. Foam claws reached but could not grasp. Foam eyes beamed optimism. It was humorous, self-aware, and technically astonishing. The judges erupted. Cameras flashed. Hashtag MetaRex trended worldwide. Victory unanimous went to Todd. Sloane's man bun drooped visibly. Todd accepted the trophy, a gold tamper mounted on marble, and delivered a speech that auto live streamed to the cafe. May your dreams be larger than your limitations, and your espresso always land in the cup, not on the walls. B leapt on stage, planted a kiss on Todd's scaly cheek, and the crowd cheered louder. Somewhere, Milliman clapped awkwardly. Back at Tiny Arms Espresso, business boomed beyond comprehension. Todd installed a second machine at tail level so he could multitask. He partnered with a local bakery to create Rex macarons shaped like tiny eggs. His gloves gained a sponsorship deal now available in 8 fashionable colors. Tourists bought souvenir tongs. Yet Todd remained on bar every morning, greeting regulars by name, perfecting extraction times to the second. When he occasionally fumbled, he laughed. Failure, he knew, was simply practice wearing a disguise. One late evening, after the last cortado had been served and chairs inverted on tables, Todd sat on the stoop beside B. City lights flickered across wet pavement. Autumn leaves skittered like hushed applause. "Do you ever think about how improbable all this is?" he asked, gesturing to the glow of the neon sign where the cartoon Dinosaur still chased the unreachable latte. B patted his stubby arm extender. "New York's built on improbable," she said. "That's why we stay, because here a T-Rex can serve espresso and make people happy." Todd glanced at his gloves, now stained with coffee oils and memories. He considered his journey. How the world sometimes hands you arms too short for your ambitions, yet you reach anyway. And if you can't stretch far enough, you build an extender, find allies, tape a tamper to a stick, anything to bridge the gap. That, he decided, was the real flavor note behind every cup he served, persistence with a hint of roasted hope. The next morning the line formed even earlier. Agatha delivered a crossword that read, 6 letters, legacy. Todd pre-infused the portafilter, smiled, and thought, let's spell it in crema.